Hey guys, what's up? MadUzuki here bringing you a NU Wi-Fi Pokemon battle. This is a match that I had over the Wi-Fi Smoke Battle Finder. It's, as you can see, I have a bunch of stally stuff and he's got some stally stuff, and it's gonna make for a really stally game until one of us finally gives. Um, Anyway, let's start the battle. He's going to lead off with Galrock. I am going to be leading with Gigalith. The plan originally was to set up Stealth Rocks and then use my normal gem to explode all over somebody's face, but that's kind of not going to work out this game just because of the fact that he's running a choice ban in Galrock, which ends up ruining my day just because of the fact that it's going to do enough damage to be a threat to the rest of my team, and I'm going to end up wanting to keep Gigalith in just at this point to fodder it out and try and fire off as much damage I can to this Gigalith with an Earthquake. Anyway, my Gigalith's gonna go down. I'm gonna bring in my Amoonguss because I figure if he wants to stay in, I know I can take a Shadow Punch. If not, then I'm gonna put something else to sleep with Spore. Either way, something is going to take a quick nap, and it's his Gardevoir, which doesn't really help me in the long run because of just how bulky this thing is. This is a especially defensive Gardevoir, so what I end up doing is I figure this is a decent time to try and set up as much as I can, so I bring in my Electros. Now this is an interesting rest coil set. I sacrifice a third move and a little bit of coverage, I guess, for for rest, but I don't run Sleep Talk, so I can run the double attack, so I can carry the Dragon Tail. It's kind of an important aspect to this set. But he unfortunately is going to get the second or third turn wake up, and I'm not going to be able to get off as many coils as I would like to, but I figured I'm at a decent point. Maybe I can kill with a wild charge. Unfortunately, I don't. In retrospect, what I should have done here is just gone for the second wild charge. The recoil would have been minuscule, and I would have taken nothing from the psychic, and I would have been able to heal back up later if I needed to. But unfortunately, I'm an idiot, and I decided to go for the rest. So he's actually going to go for the wish and, you know, get himself back up to a decent amount of hit points. Which kind of sucks for me because, you know, I'm sleeping, I don't have the sleep talk, so I can't really touch him. So he took advantage of the fact that I have rest, but at the same time, he really can't do any damage to me whatsoever. I am going to wake up. I think this turn, either this turn or next turn, I don't even remember. But I'm gonna wake up whenever it is I wake up, and I'm going to end up dragon tailing this thing out. And it does a decent chunk of damage. I probably should have just gone for the wild charge, would have definitely killed from that range, but I'm kind of retarded. He's gonna bring in his Minun, and he's gonna encore me into Dragon Tail, which is fine because that's kind of what I was planning on doing anyway. Because even with the +2, I run 0 attack EVs, so that's probably why my wild charge didn't kill the Gardevoir. But I'm just gonna take out his Minun, force in his Amoonguss, which kind of sucks because it turns out he carries a Clear Smog, and that's going to send all my effort setting up kind of to shit. So I kind of wasted all of that time and got really nothing accomplished. And I'm gonna Dragon Tail him out to his Galrock again, and I'm like, shit, I really don't want Electros dying because right now it's the only thing that I can really use as a wall breaker against him. So if I lost Electros, I would pretty much lose the match. That was the thought process there. So I brought in my Amoonguss. I was like, you know what? It's more of a risk-reward thing. If I can take these Shadow Punches, then I can kill this thing with the Giga Drain, I'm fairly certain, because Galrock isn't really that specially defensive, and I know that Amoonguss has, you know, between the super effectiveness and the stab, Giga Drain is going to be enough to take it out. Fortunately, I lived the second Shadow Punch with a smidgen so I can get off that Giga Drain. He's going to bring in Minun. Unfortunately, it's just out of Stealth Rock range to kill it off. So I'm going to switch out to my Nancy, expecting like the T-Bolt or something. I wasn't really sure what this thing was going to do. Maybe Hidden Power Fire, but it turns out he carries the Hidden Power Ice, and that's going to do a decent chunk to my Altaria. Not that it's going to matter too much in the long run, because this is a very defensive Altaria, carries the Roost and Heal Bell and all that fun stuff. He's going to bring in his Ditto, thinking that I'm more of a offensive, but I think that was kind of really just a waste of time, because if you were looking at the damage, that did his HP ice, even though it was unstabbed and only base power of 70s, it's only so-so, but that HP ice, if I wasn't defensive, probably would have killed me if I was more of an offensive variant. So you gotta figure, especially since it barely did over half. But he's gonna toxic me, and I'm like, that's really not that big of an issue, because of the fact that I can switch out to my Amoonguss if he just wants to stay in toxic, because I'm guessing he's Choice Scarf since he's that, you know, new Imposter Ditto set. I can go into my Amoonguss. I'm pretty much at full health with Altaria, so I can get my Natural Cure and then switch back in if I have to. He takes advantage of my switching, and he's going to go for the Wish. Now, what I probably could have done was put this Gardevoir to sleep. Would have probably saved me a lot of time and effort. But his Psychics aren't going to be doing enough to me to make a real difference, so I figured I would try and Toxic this thing, maybe get that residual damage going on. Even if he does carry the Synchronize, which he obviously does, I have Natural Cure and Heal Bells, so it really won't be that big of an issue. I just wanted to get this thing Toxic. I wanted to start wearing it down because this thing was starting to give me a lot of trouble. And the fun with fighting Gardevoir has really only begun. I'm going to go for the Heal Bell, figuring that I can take a Psychic and Roost on the next turn or the following turn if needed be, because that's still a 4-hit KO, even though I'm not from max health. That's a 4-hit KO at least. Unfortunately, he shows me now that he has the Heal Bell too, and I'm like, well, shit, this is going to be fun. I don't want to, you know, force myself into a corner by trying to keep Toxicking him and trying to waste his Heal Bell. I figured that would just waste too much time trying to stall this thing out. So I'm ending up going for the Roost, and I just want to see how much Dragon Pulse would do, and it does nothing. It really does. Like, I do not pack enough special investment to really do any damage to especially defensive Gardevoir. That's just a fact. And unfortunately, I don't really carry anything that would be super effective against a Gardevoir from the physical side. So basically, we're just gonna have this back and forth going on, as you know, he tries to get as much psychic done. I can obviously speak English very well. He's gonna try and deal as much damage to me as he can with psychics. I'm just gonna keep on roosting off that damage, thinking that I don't really have anything at this point that wants to switch into a psychic safely. The only thing that would really be able to take it definitely would probably have been my Electros. I'm sorry. Electros, who is at not decent health right now. So I'm basically just going to stay in, wait for him to realize that, you know, this isn't going anywhere and that he has to switch out to make some progress. What I end up doing is I end up switching out into Siri, because I'm like, you know what, I was looking at it and I'm like, this thing can definitely take a Psychic after leftovers. It could probably take a second one, so what I can do is I can switch in and then go for the rest. He ends up showing me Will-O-Wisp, which does kind of suck, but again, I carry the rest, so it's not really that big a deal. So I'm going to be able to rest off that Will-O-Wisp, get myself back up to full health. And the idea is, if he wants to stay in, I'm going to wait until I wake up and then just get a couple of coils off. What he does end up doing is going into his Ditto, though, which is Scarfed. I believe he ends up going for the Dragon Tail here, if I'm not mistaken, just to phase me out. And I believe I get phased out into a Amoonguss. Yes. And now I'm like, alright, he doesn't have something to sleep, so I can definitely put this thing to sleep, or whatever wants to switch in. He was trying to go for the Dragon Tail again, I think, and I ended up outspeeding him. Either that or my Electros just has terrible base speed. No, he had to be going for the Dragon Tail because he's Scarfed. What am I saying? Anyway, he's going to bring out Gardevoir. I'm like, I'm just going to go for the Sludge Bomb. If he wants to switch, great. If not, I'm going to do damage to his Ditto. Ends up that even that ends up doing absolutely nothing. So I figure this is a fine time to switch back into my Electros. I'm basically at full health, so I can take a couple of Psychics while I try and get my rest turns over with. And basically what he's going to do is he's just going to sit here and Will-O-Wisp a few times, waiting for me to wake up. I guess he realizes that sitting here and try to Psychic me will only waste PP for him. So he's gonna try and, wish and keep himself at full health and try and get the burn off on me. And basically my idea is to just coil a few times, get, set up again with possibly, the goal was to get to +3. And, you know, I had to kind of time rest to be able to set up efficiently and deal with Will-O-Wisp without, allowing the residual damage and his psychics to kill me off if that's what he wanted to end up going for. Because honestly, at this point in time, I was thinking about it, and because my Zebstrika is choice specs, and he's really the only powerhouse, like, dedicated sweeper that I have on this team, this Electros is really going to be the only thing I have that's going to be able to take out this Gardevoir, so it's kind of pivotal that I'm able to keep this thing alive and healthy and not burned. So I'm just going to keep going for the rest, trying to get up as many coils as I can before I think it's pretty much safe to just go to town. I'm taking the Psychics like a boss. He does get the special defense drop here, but I am max spec D, so it's not going to make that big of a difference. And I think now is when he tries to go for the Will-O-Wisp, as I try to go for the Wild Charge, and thankfully his Will-O-Wisp misses. I was kind of banking on that. You never really want to bank on hacks too much. But in this case, I figured, Will-O-Wisp is going to miss eventually. I figured it was my turn to get some hacks in my favor, rather. And I'm going to be able to take this thing out. He's going to bring in his Ditto. I'm not really sure why, because it's asleep, and I do carry the Dragon Tail, but what it is going to allow me to do is get up another coil, just kind of to guarantee that I can do what I need to do when the time comes. Mostly at this point, since Gardevoir is down, I was looking at, being healthy to the point where I can take on a Moloma, or Aloma Molomo, or however the hell you want to call it, because this Wild Charge is not going to do anything to me. And I'm going to be able to Dragon Tail out his Ditto, knowing that I can't touch him now, since, he's transformed into my +2 or +3 Electros, whatever I was at when he switched in. But I can take a Scald, and I'm pretty sure that I was hoping that he would be the Waterfall set. He is, which means I won't have to worry about the burn, only the flinch. Fortunately, I don't end up getting flinched, and I'm like, balls to the walls. This is the only thing that I really need Electros for to take out at this point, so I'm just going to go for the Wild Charge, take it out from pretty much full health. And Amoloma is actually a pretty defensive beast, so that kind of impressed me. Even for no attack investments, that was pretty good, I guess. Stab and +3 kind of helps. But basically, I'm going to go into my Amoonguss. It turns out that either we speed tie and I just get lucky, or I'm faster somehow. But I'm going to get the Spore off, and his Amoonguss is going to be put to sleep, which means I'm basically going to get a free switch into my Camerupt. I was hoping that Camerupt would work a little bit more effectively than he did this match, but it turns out Lava Plume really isn't going to do that much. And what I probably should have done here, I was kind of expecting him to go out to Ditto to absorb the Lava Plume, and then he would have been able to revenge kill me with a Choice Scarfed Earth Power, but that doesn't end up happening. So at that point, what I was doing was I was going for the Roar, thinking that, if Ditto comes in, he'll resist the hit. If he doesn't switch out, Earth Power won't really do much, so I figured the safest thing to do was Roar, but unfortunately he wakes up and he's able to Spore me. I kind of make the mistake of deciding to stay in and hoping that I get a fairly early wake up, which really doesn't happen. I think I get the third turn wake up. He's gonna synthesize, and I think I wake up here right after he gets the synthesis off and heals himself back up to full HP, and I'm going to go for a Lava Plume. And at this point, I was like, let me just go for the double Lava Plume. He didn't switch in Ditto last time. He probably won't do it this time. Unfortunately, I think this Giga Drain is going, between the Giga Drain and the Leftover, is going to put him just out of range of a 2-hit KO. Which kind of really sucks for me, but it is what it is. But I'm going to go for the second Lava Plume, kind of hoping for like mid-max damage variations, hoping that, that was minimum damage and I could get maximum damage or average and hope to kill this thing off, but he's just gonna spore me. And at this point, I'm like, I'm not gonna sit here and try and play games. He's at 2, I think. He's got this Amoonguss and Ditto left, and I'm at 4. I still have the Zebstrika in the wings, and this thing is going to be able to outspeed everything except for maybe a Ditto, but I do have a plan to take that thing out. So I'm going to bring in this Zebstrika as he goes for the Synthesis, and I'm just going to go for the Overheat, which does take it out. He was saying that he actually is a specially defensive variant of Amoonguss, and that's going to be a one-hit KO from that range, and take out Amoonguss. So that's basically another huge problem solved. All that I have left is this Ditto, which I'm really not too concerned about, because what I could do is I could go out to Altaria. If he wants to lock himself into Volt Switch or Thunderbolt or anything, that's perfectly fine by me, because my Zebstrika runs Lightning Rod, so I can go out to Altaria, take that, then go out to Zebstrika and absorb the Thunderbolt. But he decides to lock himself into Overheat, and looking at the damage that he did before the even spec attack drop, I was like, my Altaria is going to be able to clean this up, so I don't even waste time switching in and out and everything. So I'm just going to take him out with the Dragon Pulse, and that's going to be the game. Kind of long, kind of stally, but that's how this team has ended up to work. It's really, really effective, actually. I really, really enjoy it. It does have enough offensive power to really threaten a lot of the opponent's other team. It just so happened that this guy brought a really, really annoying Gardevoir that I had a lot of trouble just breaking down. Had I just, thrown caution to the wind and wild charged much, much earlier in the game to take out this Gardevoir, I would have been much better off than I was. But unfortunately, hindsight is 20/20. So yeah, that'll be today's game, and I'll see you next time.